Hello world, my name is Igor, and I am a master of history, and I have 1,500 hours in Hearts of Iron 4. 2 years ago, No Step Back DLC about the Soviet Union was released. I will say it right away that I really like it, from a gameplay point of view, but there is one problem with this DLC. And this is the historicity of the Soviet Union Focus 3. It has some flaws. So the first task of this video is a historical overview of the USSR and Hearts of Iron 4. How can my opinion be considered authoritative? I worked as a history teacher in a Russian school for 3 years, graduated 10th and 11th grades. It's in these classes that the USSR is covered in the curriculum. So I have a certain idea of what happened in the Union in 1930s and 40s. Besides this, the video has a second goal: to show a very strong build of the USSR through mass mobilization. First, I will show you what I do not really agree with in the Focus 3, and then we will easily destroy Germany in a year of war. I hope Paradox will fix this doctrine someday. So, the first part. We will discuss serious issues and gross errors of paradoxes. Yes, there are some. And then we will move to a minor flaws. I will say it right away that as for the industrial and military branches, they made very well and quite historically correct. Perhaps some of the viewers could have formed the false judgment that the USSR was so unprepared for the war with Germany that, like in Call of Duty, not all soldiers had rifles and those who did not have ammo. Army was very poorly equipped. Let me show you the example. The myth was inspired by many things. For example, the movie Enemy at the Gates. It's not really a historically correct film. And also by true reports during World War I. That Russian soldiers, then Tsarist Russia, were sent to the lines without weapons or ammunition. If you want, I can make new video about Tsarist Russia in Great War Redux. But the Soviet Union had a massive industry and was far outproducing Germany even with all its lost territory, meaning it had plenty of rifles to go around. Actually, there are even real numbers about equipment in the Second World War in USSR. For example, the most famous Mosin Nagant rifle. There is a site, mosinnagan.ru, I guess. You can go there and you can look how many rifles were in a stockpile in, for example, 1941, 42, 43. It was quite a lot. This is a widespread myth, thanks God. Paradoxes were well prepared. But I have a very serious question about political branch of the Focus 3. I start with an example. Maybe some of you remember in Japanese Focus 3 there is a communist path. It opens with the unthinkable focus. This is a main problem of Soviet Focus 3. Every path except Stalin should be called the unthinkable. You see, this Focus 3 gives a false feeling that maybe USSR was not a totalitarian one-party state. The reality is that in 1936, Stalin had long since defeated all his opponents. What's the probability of coup or revolution? For left and right opposition, around 0%. If we talk about monarchists, republicans, or fascists, below 0%. I think it would have been better to make a mechanic like Third Reich's inner circle, because Stalin had one, with Beria, Molotov, Khrushchev, Bulganin, Voroshilov, and so on. A substitution of concepts occurred. A person not very familiar with history may get the impression that Stalin's actions were justified. That you see from the focus tree there are so many enemies in the country, both the left and the right opposition, and they also want to bring back the Tsar. Joseph, my mustache man, turns from a bloody tyrant into an ordinary reactionary. Another thing that comes to mind is lack of the democratic focus tree. I mean, I can understand the joke about modern Russia, and of course the probability of democratic institutions appearing out of thin air is like 0. But this does not stop monarchists, fascists, or the opposition. If we are talking about separate political paths, then everything is pretty decent. Stalin's paranoia with random elements, I think it's the most interesting mechanic in the game right now, leading to incredibly strong buffs like Father of the Nations and so on. Trotsky with World Revolution, pretty historical, he wanted that. Right opposition with a very strong economy and compliance, absolutely busted. The ability to unite oppositions into the strongest leader in the game, the Supreme Soviets. Romanov Slarp with uniting all the Slavs, or you can declare a third Rome with Patriarch. Only fascist path is weak, because you get almost nothing from focuses except war goals. But it's pretty historical, I would say. Why? Because Rodzaevsky, the main guy in fascist party, he was living in Manchuria, in a Japanese occupied territory in 1930s. So even there, maybe some probability of that happening can occur. Also, one very minor but very stupid thing is if you look at the party popularity in the Soviet Union in 1936 and the start date, you will see 10% democratic support. From where?
It's me, Joseph Stalin. I've been battling the enemies of the revolution for the last 10 years. Wait, who is it?
It's me, Alexander Kerensky. I have been living in France for 10 years, and yet my Trudovik's party has 10% party popularity in the USSR.
Welcome to the second part. We're gonna build infrastructure. We're gonna make research, engineering, electronics, anti-tank. Why not? Because we wanna pierce German tanks. And also something in production. Basic machine tools. In equipment, we want to prioritize support equipment, artillery. We want to make them as much as we can, because we will have a lot of units and all of them will need support equipment. And we also need a lot of fighters and some trades. That will be enough. And here it is, Paranoia Focus 3. We wanna rush it as soon as possible. Zinoviev passed away, so sad. Now we need to focus on the Spanish Civil War. And now we want to pick a man who will be our field marshal, because there is a huge problem with field marshals in USSR at that moment. We don't need to win this civil war, we just need to grind some experience for the air and for the army and for the commander. In fact, there were a lot of Russians in Spanish civil war, around 500. 150 fought for the Franco, and 350 fought for the Republican cause. And I'm not speaking about citizens of the USSR. These were 500 people who left Russia during the Civil War. Those who fought for Franco preferred to join the squads of local monarchists, Carlist Requetés. There were only 150 of them, and they hoped to revive a combat-ready army to fight communism, Bolshevism, and USSR. Some of them in 1941 will go with the Spanish Blue Division as translators to participate in the siege of Leningrad. No less interesting are the 350 people who fought for the Republic. In the past, they were sworn enemies of the Bolsheviks. In the present, these are people who want to return home to Russia, trying to atone for their sins before Stalin. Some even succeeded, because 40 soldiers received citizenship of the USSR. Oh guys, first encirclement, yeah! Also, according to official data, about 2,000 citizens of the USSR participated in the war as military experts. About half of them were pilots. Fun fact that I just discovered. The delegation from the USSR had 3 leaders. Jan Belsky would be shot by his government in 1937. Grigory Stern would be shot by his government in 1939. Kuzma Kachanov would be shot by his government in 1941. As you can see, mechanic of Stalin's paranoia is pretty historical. In Civil War we want to grind XP, I'm too lazy to win it, so I will skip most of it. What you cannot skip, by the way, it's a focus called positive heroism. It gives us Mr. Zhukov with 15% discount on massmob doctrine, absolutely essential for this build. And now we can observe an interesting event. We have a new head of the NKVD. I want to tell you a little bit about Stalin's Avengers. The first one on the left, who is now under arrest, is Genrikh Yagoda, an old Bolshevik. He would never have agreed to the executions of the old guard and officers of the Lenin's army. He was not cruel enough. He could have killed thousands, but it was necessary to kill hundreds of thousands. So he was removed from the office. During the search, they found 3,900 pornographic photographs, 11 porn films, and 1 rubber phallus in his apartment. The second one in the middle is Nikolai Yezhov, a 5-foot-tall maniac. Stalin needed a grand scale of terror, so Yezhov was the right man for it. During the year of Yezhovshchina, 600,000 people will be shot, many 1 to 2 million will end up in prison. It's also little neat detail in the game that he accelerates the course of Stalin's paranoia. This scoundrel also ended up very badly. During interrogations, he confessed to unnecessary repressions and homosexual relations with a large number of men. Of course, he was tortured badly in the process. And the last but not least, Lavrentiy Beria. He will become the head of the NKVD in 1939, will oversee the atomic project, and will even outlive Stalin by 6 months. This is the achievement. He also had skeletons in his closet. During interrogations, it will turn out that he loved little girls very much. Girls were brought to his home, and after bad deeds, they were returned home with a bouquet of flowers for their parents. All those 3 NKVD Avengers were shot dead, which is absolutely, in my opinion, deserved. Now, after Molotov-Ribbentrop agreement, we're gonna assign some generals for the winter Finnish war. We wanna pick Marshal Zhukov, and we wanna pick this guy. Who is he? We grinded him at the Spanish Civil War. We wanna assign him reinforce rate trait. This is really important. And after that, we really need to make our template. Just support company, signal company, again, reinforce rate, and 18 weeks. Here is the focus that starts the war. Starting in 1939, which is pretty historical, we're gonna claim Bessarabia right away. Also, in the background, we are annexing Baltic countries. I think we will gonna be much more successful than historical Stalin. Right away, just push. They don't have the manpower to cover all the front. So few little encirclements here and there, and my mountaineers are going to kick Helsingfors or Helsinki, the capital of Finland. And as you can see, 2 weeks and we finish the war. And now we're gonna do historically a pretty important task. Assign Mr. Ramon Mercader, Spanish guy, Spanish communist, to Mexico, to one very important task. But first, one little thing. This is the most important doctrine in massmob 3. It gives 15% reinforce rate. It's actually so much that this build is absolutely broken, as you will see in the future. Okay, let's send Mr. Mercader to kill Trotsky. It's really pity that we cannot automatically repeat this action. And you know what? The mad lad actually killed Trotsky with the ice pickaxe. Mercader spent next 20 years in Mexican prison, and then he would be rewarded in Russia and USSR. This build requires a lot of resources, so we are conducting propaganda campaigns in advance to increase the amount of raw materials. It remains to appoint generals. The choice here is of course great. Rokossovsky, Konev, Vatutin, Vasilevsky. These names are taught in Russian schools. An interesting fact, at the end of Russian school, those children who want to enter certain university departments must pass an exam in history. So, one of the tasks in this exam is dedicated to the war against Hitler. To pass it successfully, you need to know all the generals, all the battles and their dates, the names of the fronts and operations. Of course, everything is not as scary as it seems. Zhukov, for example, participated in almost all the important battles, so almost always children learn 4 or 5 generals at max. And the war has started. Air is green, Finland is gonna capitulate very soon, and as you can see, Wehrmacht doctrine, it's full, and we are holding. We are holding actually pretty nice, I would say. It's a no step back strategy. Now we're gonna go total mob and woman in the workforce, because why not? And we have maybe some little problems in the south, in Bessarabia. Maybe we will lose one tile. It's nothing to fear about. Also some excavation techs, which are pretty good for the resources. And you can see casualties are absolutely brutal. Yeah, and we really need to push Finland to capitulation. And you see we are losing one tile and one tile only. Okay, everything is going according to the plan. Maybe a few days and Finland will capitulate. And on the main front with Hitler, we are holding pretty easy. Now it's time to assign infantry general trait. It's very important because it will buff our infantry. Oh, here is the event. Finland capitulated. Main front is holding absolutely great, everything is fine, and you can see the casualties. It's 10-1, absolutely brilliant. I think it's time for a full-scale assault. So we want to put our planes to the Poland. And here we go. I think we wanna bash our heads into German Reich. They're pretty weak. But it's only half a year from starting the war. As you can see, we are green in our stockpile. Life is great, life is good. And we can also historically annex Tanatuva. Because why not? Okay, Tanatuva gets annexed and Romania capitulated. Now we have a huge gap in the front line, which I really hate in this game. In the west, as you can see, small Yugoslavia popped off, which destroyed my front line. I hated paradox. There is even nastier bug. When some units from your front line are attaching to country which you are not in war with. Now a quick montage of this war will begin. As you can see, this build is ideally suited for large countries that are provided with resources and population. Very lazy thing, I recommend it to anyone. And while the montage is going on, I'll tell you a little about the Great Patriotic War. That's how Stalin's war against Hitler is called in Russia. The main thing to understand is that this war left an unhealing scar on my country. The generation of 18 to 27 years was halved in this war. Losses at the front were monstrous. Here is an example. Only 40% of men born from 1922 to 1924 survived to 1959. Here are some graphs from scientific works. In 4 years of war, my country lost half of its male population. The question arises, why were the losses so high? Many factors come to mind, but in short, the bets were made on the wrong people. Tukhachevsky, who was shot before the war, understood the importance of tank warfare, but Voroshilov and Budyonny, who survived the executions, still believed in the cavalry. There was also a major shortage in middle and senior commander personnel. The shortage was about 30% even before the terror. This was exacerbated by the Soviet Union policy of treating people as expendable material. It reached the point of absurdity. In the Battle of Stalingrad, the life of the private was on average around 15 seconds. This war was hell on earth. It affects us still to this day. Such a large number of dead men created a demographic imbalance. In modern Russia, in percentage terms, there are many more women than men. So the echoes of the war are still can be heard. We are in the outskirts of Germany, May 1942. You see, Mr. Stalin, it was so easy. I am a little bit lazy, that's why all of my front lines are in complete disarray, enemy attacking us from Bulgaria, but it's a minor issue. We are hammering our way into the Germany. Casualty-wise, it's even not that bad. We lost around 2 million people, Germany lost 5 to 6 million people, and Italy lost also 2 million people. Here we go, Benito Mussolini, boldest man in Italy, deposed, and Germany capitulate. Now, the only thing that left is to capitulate Italy, and there will be a peace deal. I will show you the casualties on the last days of the war. Also, if you like this video, please leave a comment, because it would mean much to me. I want to make a few more videos, so let's keep the things going. And now the peace deal. I tried to make it historical, but failed miserably. Also, I don't have player-led peace conferences, so it will be a really bad conference. As you can see, I puppeted all the Germany, I picked up all the Balkan states, but and here's the deal. Somebody took Krakow. Greece is kinda weird. We have 4 or 5 Italies. Oh no, the small one in Trieste is Yugoslavia. And we have Mr. Schmidtler in Mosenland. And also we have a Rhineland. That's it, guys.
Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next video.